I thought I knew my wife completely. 26 years of marriage, 3 incredible kids, a life built brick by brick through sacrifice and trust. I was wrong about everything. My name is David Marshall. I'm 52, a senior operations manager at Northeast Logistics. Steady, reliable, the kind of man who built security for his family. Patricia, my wife of 26 years, has been a stay-at-home mother since our second child was born. A mutual decision we both stood behind proudly. Our children are our masterpiece. Connor, 25, is a mechanical engineer with a work ethic that makes me proud. Ethan, 23, is finishing his MBA, already fielding job offers. And Lily, our youngest at 21, is studying nursing with compassion that could break your heart. They're respectful, driven, close-knit, the kind of family that neighbors envy. I believed we'd created something unbreakable, a fortress of love and commitment that 26 years had only strengthened. But 4 months ago, things began to shift. Patricia started taking shopping trips, twice a week, sometimes more, always alone, always vague about where she'd been or what she'd purchased. Just needed to get out of the house, she'd say with that familiar smile. The one I'd fallen for when we were barely more than kids. You know how it is? I never questioned it. After 2.5 decades together, why would I? The kids noticed but dismissed it as mom needing space now that they were grown. I agreed. Patricia had devoted her entire adult life to us. She deserved freedom. Our routine changed. Patricia would leave Tuesday afternoons and Thursday evenings, returning with minimal bags, her phone always face down on the counter. I noticed other small details too. The new perfume she wore. The yoga classes she suddenly mentioned but never discussed. The way she'd check her phone at dinner and smile at messages she never shared. I felt whispers of unease but crushed them immediately. This was Patricia, the woman who'd stood beside me through job losses, my father's death, our daughter's health scare. Trust wasn't optional in our marriage, it was foundational. Tuesday evening, we sat at dinner as a family. Connor had brought takeout from that Thai place Patricia loves. The conversation flowed naturally until Patricia cleared her throat. "I've been thinking," she began, setting down her fork. "I need a trip." Just me. Somewhere quiet where I can unwind. I looked up, surprised but supportive. She explained how after 26 years of domestic life, of putting everyone else first, she needed me time. "I'm thinking Charleston," she added. "It's beautiful this time of year." Just 4 or 5 days. I reached across the table, squeezing her hand. "You absolutely deserve this. Book it. We'll handle everything here," I assured her. Patricia's face bloomed into a smile. "Thank you, honey. I knew you'd understand," she said, squeezing my hand back. Later that night, as Patricia walked upstairs, I watched her phone screen light up. She read the message, smiled in a way that seemed secretive, and typed a quick response before locking the screen. For the first time in our marriage, I felt a cold knot form in my stomach, a sensation so foreign that I immediately forced it away. This was Patricia, my wife, the mother of my children. I trusted her completely. That was my first mistake. 3 days later, we piled into the SUV, me, Connor, Ethan, and Lily, to drive Patricia to the airport. The mood was warm, sentimental. Patricia sat beside me, her excitement palpable. "You have everything?" I asked, navigating through traffic. "Passport? Charger?" "Yes, David," she laughed, patting her purse. "You've only asked 5 times since breakfast." The terminal drop-off was a flurry of activity. Unloading luggage, hugs exchanged, last-minute reminders. Lily helped her mother with her suitcase. Connor wrapped his arms around Patricia in a bear hug. "Don't get into too much trouble, Mom," he teased, lifting her slightly off the ground. "As if," she replied, straightening her blouse with mock indignation. Ethan held her shoulders and looked directly into her eyes. "Remember to actually relax, okay? Don't spend the whole time worrying about us," he advised gently. I'll try, she promised, patting his cheek. Then it was my turn. I pulled her close, breathing in her scent, the new perfume mixed with her shampoo. Have an amazing time, I whispered. You've earned this. We kissed goodbye, a proper kiss, not just a peck. The kind that said, I'll miss you. Come back to me soon. I'll call every night, she promised, squeezing my hand before walking into the terminal. The drive home was filled with chatter about covering Patricia's responsibilities. I felt pride swelling, pride in the life we'd built, where my wife could take a well-earned vacation without stress or drama. Dad, you okay to handle dinner tonight? Ethan asked as we pulled into our driveway. Of course, I nodded confidently. I was thinking pasta. Connor groaned from the back seat. Dad's pasta means jarred sauce and overcooked noodles, he complained. Lily punched her brother's arm playfully. Be nice. Mom's been gone for like 2 hours, and you're already complaining about food? She scolded. We laughed, and the sound felt normal, even with Patricia's absence creating a small vacuum in our family dynamic. That first night, the phone rang at 8 p.m. sharp. We gathered in the living room, putting Patricia on speakerphone. The resort is gorgeous, she gushed. I'm sitting on the balcony watching the sunset. I miss you guys already. We took turns talking to her, Lily asking about the room, Ethan about the food, Connor wondering if she'd made any friends. Patricia laughed. I'm here to relax, not socialize, she explained. Though the couple next door invited me to join them for drinks tomorrow. I listened to my wife's voice, warm and familiar, feeling that strange cold knot dissolve. This was exactly what she needed. Enjoy yourself, Patty, I told her. You deserve every second. I love you all so much, she responded immediately. Love you too, we chorused back. The second night followed the same pattern. She described her day: spa treatment, poolside relaxation, seafood dinner. She sounded genuinely happy. I found myself planning surprises for her return. Flowers in the bedroom, her favorite wine, a date night reservation. By the third night, I was missing her more than expected. After another cheerful call, an idea formed. I sat with it through the night, building excitement. Thursday morning, I called the kids into the kitchen. They gathered around, curious about my early morning summons. I've been thinking, I began, unable to hide my grin. Your mom's been gone 3 days. What if we surprise her? Connor immediately caught on. Fly out to Charleston? He asked, eyes lighting up. I nodded enthusiastically. Exactly. Show up at her hotel, take her to dinner, spend the weekend together. She'd love it, right? Lily's face broke into a smile. That's so sweet, Dad, she exclaimed. Can we pull it off? Ethan asked, always the practical one. I turned to Lily. You still have that text where she mentioned the hotel name? Lily found the message on her phone. Yeah, the Ocean View Grand Resort, she confirmed. She mentioned it when I asked if she felt safe staying there. Perfect. I stood, energized by our plan. I'll book flights for tomorrow. We land tomorrow evening, surprise her Saturday morning. Everyone in? The kids nodded eagerly. Within hours, flights were booked. 4 seats to Charleston, departing Friday afternoon. Let's make this a weekend she'll never forget, I said as we packed overnight bags, not realizing how prophetic those words would be. Friday night, we checked into a modest hotel near the Ocean View Grand. As I fell asleep, my phone buzzed with a text from Patricia. Had the most amazing dinner tonight. Thinking about you. Love you. I smiled, typed back a heart emoji, and drifted off, completely unaware that in 12 hours, my entire world would detonate. Saturday morning arrived with picture-perfect weather, clear blue skies, gentle breeze, temperature in the mid-70s, the kind of day that feels like a good omen. We grabbed breakfast at a cafe near our hotel, planning our surprise over coffee and pastries. The excitement was contagious, all of us giddy with anticipation. How exactly are we doing this? Connor asked, slathering cream cheese on his bagel. We could call from the lobby, Lily suggested, stirring her latte. Ask her to come down for some reason. I considered our options, wanting maximum impact. What if we get a spare key card from the front desk? I proposed. Walk straight into her room. The look on her face will be priceless. The kids exchanged glances, then broke into matching grins. Perfect, Lily decided, already grabbing her phone. I'll record the whole thing. After breakfast, we drove to the Ocean View Grand. The resort was exactly as Patricia had described. Luxury property with white columns, sprawling grounds, ocean views stretching to the horizon. I approached the front desk with my 3 adult children flanking me, the picture of a loving family on a mission. The receptionist, a young woman with a professional smile, looked up as we approached. "Good morning. How can I help you?" she greeted us. "Hi," I smiled warmly, keeping my voice low with conspiratorial excitement. "We're here to surprise my wife, Patricia Marshall. She's staying here, room 412. The clerk's face softened into a genuinely warm smile. "Oh, that's so sweet. A family surprise?" she asked. "Exactly," I confirmed, feeling proud of our plan. "We flew in from Illinois yesterday. She has no idea we're here. Could we possibly get a spare key card? We want to walk in and surprise her." The clerk hesitated momentarily, hotel policy warring with sentiment, then nodded. "You know what? That's adorable," she decided. "One moment." She ran a key card through the encoder and handed it over. "Room 412, 8th door on the right once you exit the elevators. She's going to be so happy." "Thank you so much," I said, pocketing the key card. My heart was full of anticipation as we walked toward the elevators. "This is going to be epic," Ethan whispered as the elevator doors closed. Lily already had her phone out, camera app open. Connor joked about scaring Patricia if she was still sleeping in. We were laughing as we reached the 4th floor. Room 412 was at the end of a quiet hallway. We approached silently, exchanging excited glances. I held a finger to my lips, then slid the key card into the slot. The light blinked green. I pushed the door open, already forming the word "surprise" on my lips. The first thing I heard stopped me cold. Moaning. Low, rhythmic, unmistakable. The second thing I saw destroyed me completely. Patricia, my wife of 26 years, naked, on top of a man, equally naked, equally exposed, their bodies moving together in practiced rhythm, her hands braced on his chest, his hands gripping her hips, morning sunlight streaming through the balcony doors, illuminating every detail with cruel clarity. Time seemed to fracture. My brain refused to process what my eyes were showing me. This couldn't be real. This was a nightmare. Behind me, Lily gasped, her phone instinctively rising, still recording. Patricia's head snapped toward the door, her eyes widened in horror. "Oh my God! David!" she shrieked. The man beneath her, mid-40s, dark hair, wedding ring glinting, scrambled backward, trying desperately to pull the sheet over himself. His face registered pure terror. "What the hell?" he managed, as if he were the one entitled to outrage. For one suspended moment, we all froze, a tableau of destruction. Me in the doorway, unable to move. My 3 children behind me, witnessing their mother's betrayal. Patricia and her lover caught in the most primal act of betrayal possible. Then everything happened at once. Patricia leaped off the man, frantically grabbing for clothes, for anything to cover herself. "David, kids, oh God," she stammered, voice high with panic. Connor surged forward, physically placing himself between his siblings and the scene. Ethan grabbed my shoulder, steadying me. Lily's phone continued recording, her hand shaking but the lens capturing everything. The man, this stranger who was inside my wife, jumped from the bed, stumbling backward into the bathroom, slamming the door. "David!" Patricia was crying now, clutching a sheet around herself, mascara streaking down her face. "Please, let me explain," she begged. "Explain!" The word left me in a whisper, then built to a roar. "Explain!" I thundered. Something broke inside me, something fundamental and irreparable. 26 years, I said, my voice eerily calm despite the hurricane raging inside. 26 years, Patricia. Dad? Ethan's voice cracked behind me. We should go, he urged. But I couldn't move, couldn't breathe, couldn't process. Who is he? I demanded, pointing at the bathroom door. Patricia was sobbing, her body heaving. Henry! His name is Henry! I met him at... She choked out. No. I cut her off, suddenly not wanting details. I don't care, I said coldly. From behind the bathroom door, Henry called out, Patricia, should I call security? The absurdity of it, this adulterer threatening to call security on the husband whose life he was destroying, broke something in me. I crossed the room, threw open the bathroom door, and dragged Henry out by his arm. He was half-dressed now, pants on but no shirt, eyes wide with fear. Listen, man, he started, raising his hands defensively. My fist connected with his jaw before he could finish. Pain exploded across my knuckles, but I felt nothing but cold rage. Henry stumbled backward, hitting the wall, blood blossoming from his lip. Dad! Connor was there instantly, arms wrapping around me, pulling me back. Stop! He's not worth it, he shouted. Patricia was screaming, begging. Lily was crying. Ethan stood frozen, face drained of color. Henry used the moment to gather his belongings, scrambling for the door. You're married, I spat at him, noticing his wedding ring. You're married too, I accused. Something like shame flickered across his face. I'm sorry, he mumbled, as if that meant anything. Get out, I growled. Get the hell out before I kill you. He slipped past us into the hallway, disappearing. Then it was just us, the Marshall family, fractured beyond repair in a hotel room that reeked of betrayal. David, Patricia tried again, taking a step toward me. Please listen, she pleaded. No, I said, my voice dead. We're leaving. I turned to my children, their faces reflecting shock, horror, disgust. Let's go, I ordered. Dad, Lily whispered, her phone lowered. I recorded everything, she said, her voice barely audible. Something cold and calculating stirred within me. Something that wouldn't have existed before this moment. Good, I said. Send it to me. As we walked out, leaving Patricia calling our names with increasing desperation, I felt 26 years of love calcify into something else. Something hard and unforgiving. In the elevator, Ethan finally broke the silence. What do we do now? He asked, his voice small. I looked at my children, their world shattered just as completely as mine, and found clarity amidst the chaos. Now, I said as the elevator doors opened, we make her pay. The drive back to our hotel passed in shattered silence. Connor white-knuckled the steering wheel. I was in no condition to drive. Ethan stared out the window, jaw clenched. Lily sat beside me, tears streaming down her face, her phone clutched like evidence at a crime scene. Patricia called repeatedly before we reached our hotel, then more as we packed, checked out, and drove to the airport. I watched her name flash on my screen until I finally turned the phone off completely. We managed to get seats on a flight leaving that afternoon. 4 tickets, one way, back to the life that no longer existed. We sat in the terminal, none of us able to articulate the earthquake that had destroyed our foundation. I'm so sorry, Lily finally whispered, her voice thick with tears. I'm so sorry you had to see that. I took her hand. You have nothing to apologize for, I assured her firmly. Nothing. None of you do. Connor stood abruptly. I need a drink, he muttered. It was barely noon, but Ethan and I nodded. As Connor walked to the airport bar, Ethan leaned toward me. What's the plan when we get home, Dad? He asked quietly. The plan. As if there could be a plan for navigating this wasteland. I don't know yet, I admitted. But I know one thing. She doesn't get to win. The flight home was a blur. We landed, collected our bags, and drove to the house in heavy silence. None of us had turned our phones back on, not ready to face Patricia's excuses or pleas. Walking into our home felt surreal. Everything looked exactly the same as yesterday. Family photos on the walls, Patricia's reading glasses on the side table, but nothing would ever be the same again. "Dad," Connor said, setting down his bag, "you should talk to a lawyer." "First thing tomorrow," he advised. The thought of officially acknowledging the end of my marriage made me physically ill. But he was right. "I know someone," Ethan said quietly. "My friend Jake's mom is a divorce attorney, Margaret Fielding. She's supposed to be the best," he explained. "I'll call her." I nodded, feeling decades older than I had this morning. Tomorrow, that night, after the kids retreated to their rooms, I finally turned my phone back on. Dozens of missed calls from Patricia, 16 voicemails, 37 desperate text messages. "David, please call me, I can explain. It's not what you think. Please let me talk to the kids. I'm so sorry I'm booking a flight home tomorrow. Please don't lock me out." I felt nothing reading her messages, just a cold, hollow space where my heart used to be. My phone pinged with an incoming email from Lily, the video. I hesitated before opening it. Did I really need to torture myself with these images again? Yes, because this wasn't just about pain anymore. This was evidence. I opened the file. The video was crystal clear, capturing everything. Patricia and Henry in the act, their faces visible. The moment of discovery. Henry's wedding ring glinting. Patricia's pathetic attempts at explanation. My punch connecting with Henry's jaw. I watched it 3 times, each viewing hardening my resolve. Then I began to search. It took minutes to find Henry Lang on LinkedIn. Regional Sales Director at Midwest Insurance Group, father of 3, husband to Helen Lang, tagged in several posts. I clicked through to Helen's profile. Pretty woman, early 40s. In her profile picture, smiling with her arm around Henry, the man I'd caught inside my wife 6 hours ago. I continued searching, found his Facebook page, more family photos, a recent vacation to Mexico, a post celebrating their 15th wedding anniversary 3 months ago. With methodical precision, I documented everything, created a folder titled Evidence, downloaded the video, screenshots of Henry's profiles, his connection to Patricia, a recent LinkedIn connection from 2 months ago. Her comment on his post, "Great insights as always." His reply, "Thanks, Patricia. Let's connect next time you're in town." Next time you're in town. The coldness inside me hardened further. I spent hours building my case. By dawn, I had a clear picture of Patricia's betrayal. The yoga classes coincided perfectly with Henry's business trips to our area. The shopping days aligned with his regional sales meetings. When my phone rang at 7 a.m., I was ready. Margaret Fielding's office, confirming an urgent appointment at 9 a.m. When I ended the call, I looked up to find my 3 children in the doorway. They were still in yesterday's clothes, dark circles under their eyes. "I have an appointment with a divorce attorney at 9, I told them. "After that, we start taking back our lives." Connor nodded grimly. "What about Mom? She's coming home today," he reminded me. I glanced at the evidence I'd compiled overnight. "Let her come," I said, a plan solidifying. "Let her walk right into the consequences of her actions." Ethan placed a hand on my shoulder. "Whatever you need, Dad." "We're with you," he promised. Lily, her eyes red but her jaw set with determination, added, "All the way." In that moment, looking at my children, the only family I had left, I felt something break through the ice in my chest. Not forgiveness, not acceptance, but purpose. Clear, cold purpose. Margaret Fielding was exactly what we needed. Not the shark-like attorney I'd imagined, but a soft-spoken 60-something with silver-streaked hair and kind eyes that hardened to steel when I showed her the evidence. "This is unusually clear-cut," she said, reviewing the video with clinical detachment. "Infidelity captured in 4K. Both parties clearly identifiable. No ambiguity whatsoever. Where do we stand legally?" I asked, my voice hollow. Margaret leaned back in her chair. Illinois is a no-fault divorce state, she explained. Technically, infidelity doesn't change property division or support calculations. My heart sank. So it doesn't matter? What she did? It doesn't matter? I asked incredulously. I didn't say that. A small smile crossed her face. The technical legal standing and the practical reality are often quite different, she clarified. Your wife won't want this video played in open court. She won't want it potentially leaked to friends, family, employers. The same goes for her companion. Understanding dawned. You're saying we have leverage, I realized. Considerable leverage, she confirmed. Now let's discuss what you want. I wanted my marriage back. I wanted to unsee what I'd seen. I wanted to rewind time. But those weren't options. I want the house, I said finally. I want my retirement accounts untouched. I've been the sole earner for 20 years. I want her to have nothing. Margaret made notes. What about alimony? She asked without looking up. Not a penny, I said flatly. That might be difficult, she cautioned. She's been out of the workforce for decades, at your mutual agreement. Courts, typically... I don't care what courts typically do, I cut in. Use the video. Use the leverage. Margaret studied me, then nodded. I'll prepare the divorce filing today. Papers ready tomorrow morning, she promised. When I returned home, Lily met me at the door. Mom's flight lands in 2 hours, she informed me. She's been texting nonstop. I showed her Margaret's card. We're filing. Papers ready tomorrow, I said simply. Connor appeared in the hallway. Good. And tonight? When she shows up? He asked. The cold purpose crystallized into a plan. Tonight we let her talk, I said, moving to the living room where Ethan sat. We let her explain, apologize, beg, and then we show her exactly what we have. For the next hour, we prepared. Connor connected Lily's phone to our TV, ensuring the video would play with clarity. Ethan gathered Patricia's credit card statements, hotel charges, restaurant bills in towns where Henry had meetings. I retrieved her laptop from our bedroom, easily guessing her password, Lily's birthday, and finding hundreds of text messages between them. By the time Patricia's Uber pulled into our driveway at 4:37 p.m., we were ready. The four of us sat in the living room, a unified front against the woman who had shattered our family. The key turned in the lock. The front door opened. Patricia's voice called out, tentative. David, kids? No one answered. The sound of her rolling suitcase on the hardwood floor, her footsteps approaching. She appeared in the doorway, still wearing the clothes from the hotel, hastily thrown on after we'd left. Her face was haggard, eyes red-rimmed from crying, hair in a messy ponytail. Oh, thank God, she breathed, seeing us all together. Please, can we talk? She pleaded. I gestured to the empty chair facing us. Sit, I ordered coldly. She perched on the edge, eyes darting between us, seeking any sign of softness. She found none. I know what you saw was terrible, she began, voice quavering. Unforgivable. But please, let me explain. Explain what, exactly? Connor interrupted, his voice icy. Explain why you were f***ing some guy while Dad was flying across the country to surprise you? Patricia flinched as if slapped. Connor, please, she begged. We found everything, Ethan cut in, his voice steady. Your messages, your credit card statements, the hotels. He held up papers. Going back 4 months, Patricia's face crumpled. It's not... I wasn't... she stammered. Don't say it wasn't what it looked like, Lily said, her voice barely audible. We saw you. We all saw you. I sat silently, watching Patricia's desperate attempts to minimize, to rationalize, to find a narrative where she wasn't the villain. David, she turned to me, pleading. It didn't mean anything. Henry, it was just physical. A mistake. I love you. I've always loved you, she insisted. Stop. The single word cut through her babbling. "Just stop, Patricia," I commanded. I reached for the remote and pressed play. The television screen filled with footage. Patricia and Henry in bed. Her face contorted in pleasure. The moment of discovery. The aftermath. Patricia's hands flew to her mouth, a strangled sound escaping. "Oh God, turn it off, please!" she cried. None of us moved. We watched in silence as the evidence played out in high definition. When it ended, Patricia was sobbing uncontrollably. "Tomorrow morning," I said evenly, "my lawyer will have divorce papers for you to sign. You'll get $5,000, enough to rent an apartment for a few months. Nothing more." "David," she gasped, I can't. Where would I go?" she asked desperately. "Not our problem," Connor said flatly. "But this is my home too," she protested. "I raised our children here." "I have rights." "Rights?" I laughed hollowly. "You had the right to divorce me if you were unhappy. You had the right to leave honorably. Instead, you chose to lie, to betray, to destroy our family." I leaned forward, holding her gaze. "Sign the papers tomorrow and take the settlement. Or fight me. And I'll make sure this video is played in court. I'll make sure everyone sees exactly who you really are." The threat hung between us. Patricia's face drained of color as she realized the implications. "You wouldn't," she whispered, eyes wide. "Try me," I challenged. She looked at our children, searching for any ally, any sympathy. She found none. "Where am I supposed to sleep tonight?" Patricia asked, defeat evident in every line of her body. "There's a Marriott 10 minutes away," Ethan said, his voice emotionless. "I already reserved you a room under your name, your credit card." Patricia flinched at her son's foresight, his methodical cruelty born from her betrayal. "Can I at least get some clothes?" "My toiletries," she asked quietly. I nodded once. 10 minutes. Then you leave," I stated firmly. As she shuffled upstairs, broken and defeated, Lily turned to me. "Was that too harsh?" she asked uncertainly. I took my daughter's hand. "She made her choice, sweetheart," I said gently. "Now she lives with the consequences." What none of us anticipated was what happened next. On Thursday evening, as we picked at a takeout dinner none of us had the appetite to finish, Ethan's phone pinged with a notification. "Oh my God," he breathed, staring at the screen. "What?" Connor and I asked simultaneously. Ethan turned his phone toward us. The video of Patricia and Henry, our private evidence, our leverage, had been posted online. "Who?" I began, but Lily cut me off, her face white. "I sent it to Angela," she whispered, horror dawning in her eyes. "Just to explain why I was so upset. I told her not to share it. I swear." The implications hit us all at once. The video was out. No longer a private piece of leverage, but a public spectacle. By Friday morning, the video had been viewed over 100,000 times. Local Facebook groups were buzzing with it. Patricia's name was trending in regional Twitter circles. Patricia was destroyed. Henry Lang's life collapsed even more spectacularly. His wife, Helen, moved with brutal efficiency, filing for divorce, demanding full custody of their children, claiming the house, emptying their joint accounts. By Friday evening, Patricia called me from an unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but curiosity won. "David, please." Her voice was broken, desperate. "I'm getting death threats. People are showing up at my hotel. I have no money. No one will talk to me. Please," she sobbed. "You made your choices," I replied, unmoved. "I made a mistake. I'm sorry. I'll do anything," she begged. "You'll sign the divorce papers when they arrive." I cut her off. "That's what you'll do. And you'll take the settlement my lawyer offers," I continued coldly. "Because if you fight this, I will make sure that video plays in open court, in front of a judge, in front of everyone. Do you understand me?" Silence. Then, barely a whisper. "Yes, good," I said, ending the call. I hung up. The man I'd been a week ago would have been horrified by my coldness. But that man no longer existed. That night, I sat on the back deck nursing a whiskey, watching the stars wheel overhead in their ancient, indifferent patterns. The universe had not stopped for my pain. Life continued. Somehow, impossibly, I would have to continue too. Not as the man I was, but as the man I had become. 6 months later, I stand on the back porch of the house I kept, the house I built, the house that's now truly mine, grilling burgers on a Saturday afternoon. Connor flips a patty with the confidence of someone who's spent months learning to fill the domestic void his mother left. Ethan sets the table with Lily's help, the three of them moving in comfortable, practiced rhythm. "Dad, you okay?" Lily asks, handing me a beer. I look at my children, 25, 23, and 21 years old, adults now in ways they weren't forced to be before, and nod. "Yeah, kiddo, I'm okay," I assure her. "Good," Connor says, not looking up from the grill. "Because we are too," they are. Mostly. Therapy helped. Individual sessions for each of them, processing betrayal and trauma. Connor threw himself into work, earning a promotion. Ethan accelerated his MBA program, graduating early. Lily finished her nursing degree with honors, now working at a pediatric hospital. They stood together when everything fell apart. They're standing together now. Ethan raises his bottle. "To family. The real kind," he toasts. We clink bottles. The beer is cold. The afternoon is warm. For the first time in 6 months, I feel something close to peace. Inside the house, the divorce decree sits framed on my desk, not out of spite, but as a reminder. A reminder that 26 years meant nothing when tested against temptation. A reminder that trust, once broken, can never be repaired. But also a reminder that I didn't fall apart. My kids didn't fall apart. We survived. Margaret Fielding delivered exactly what she promised. I kept the house, the savings, the retirement accounts, everything. Patricia received her $5,000 settlement, just enough to avoid claims of punitive damages. She signed without argument. She had no leverage, no options, no choice. The viral video eventually faded from trending pages, replaced by newer scandals, but its impact remained permanent. Patricia moved 3 states away, working a minimum-wage retail job, living in a studio apartment, cut off from everyone who mattered. Henry Lang's life collapsed even more spectacularly. Helen took everything in their divorce, full custody, the house, his retirement savings. He's apparently living in a different city now, unemployable in his field, working manual labor when he can find work. I feel no satisfaction in their suffering, only a cold acknowledgement. They made choices. Choices have consequences. As the sun sets and we eat dinner together, just the 4 of us, the real family, Connor asks the question I knew was coming eventually. "You think you'll ever date again?" he inquires cautiously. I consider this. "Maybe. Someday. Not now," I reply honestly. "That's fair," Lily says softly, reaching for my hand. "Right now," I continue, looking at each of them, "I've got everything I need right here." Somewhere far away, Patricia Marshall scrolls past the video that destroyed her life, still pinned to the top of search results for her name. She has no one. She has nothing. And every single night she thinks about the family she traded away, for a man whose name she can barely remember now. And so, we've reached the end of today's story. Was it what you expected, or did it take a twist you didn't see coming? I'm curious to hear your thoughts. Share them in the comments below, and let's get a conversation going. If this story kept you hooked, make sure to hit that like button. And if you're new here or just haven't subscribed yet, now's the perfect time to join our community. I bring you fresh, captivating stories every day, so click that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss out. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. I used to believe in certainties. 23 years of marriage teaches you that. Or so I thought. Linda and I had built something unshakable, something that weathered job losses, sick parents, teenage rebellion, and all the small earthquakes that test a marriage. I was Thomas Brennan, 47, senior accountant at Murphy & Associates, the kind of man who never missed a deadline or a family dinner. Linda was 45, part-time dental receptionist with a laugh that could fill a room and an independence I admired. We had Jake, 19, brilliant engineering student, and Sophie, 18, college-bound with dreams bigger than our suburban house could contain. Our life had rhythms. Sunday morning pancakes. Wednesday date nights, even if it was just takeout and Netflix. Linda's girls' nights with Carol and the yoga crowd. My weekend golf with the guys from work. We gave each other space to breathe, to be individuals within our partnership. I trusted her completely. Trusted her judgment, her choices, her need for autonomy. She'd say she was going shopping, and I'd kiss her goodbye without question. She'd mention dinner with old co-workers, and I'd encourage her to go. Trust was our foundation, solid as the mortgage we'd nearly paid off. The house reflected our contentment. Family photos lined the hallway. Vacations to Yellowstone, Jake's high school graduation, Sophie's prom night. Inside jokes decorated our conversations. I knew Linda's coffee order by heart, and she could predict which documentary I'd choose on Friday nights. We weren't passionate anymore, not like newlyweds, but we were comfortable, settled, safe. I should have recognized the shift sooner. Looking back, the signs were there. Linda glowing at her phone, taking calls in the other room, sudden interest in new clothes and makeup. But I interpreted these changes charitably. She was discovering herself again, maybe, finding confidence as our kids grew independent. I actually encouraged it, proud that my wife was becoming more vibrant as she approached 50. Then came that Saturday afternoon in late October. Jake walked through the front door like a man carrying invisible weight. His usual easy smile was gone, replaced by something hollow and distant. He moved through our house like a stranger, avoiding eye contact, shoulders hunched. At dinner, he pushed food around his plate while Linda chattered about her day. Shopping with Carol, she claimed, finding great deals at the outlet mall. Jake wouldn't look at her. "Not once. What's wrong, honey?" Linda asked, reaching across the table toward him. "You seem upset." Jake flinched away from her touch. "Just tired," he muttered. "Final exams coming up. But I knew my son. I'd raised him, watched him navigate friendships and heartbreak and academic pressure. This wasn't exam stress. This was something deeper. Something that made him glance at his mother with an expression I couldn't quite identify. Hurt? Disgust? Fear? Linda went back to her phone, smiling at something on the screen, thumbs flying across the keyboard. A text came in, and her face lit up. The kind of expression I hadn't seen directed at me in months. She typed back quickly, biting her lower lip the way she used to when we were dating, and she was flirting with me. Jake noticed too. He watched her with that same unreadable expression, then excused himself and disappeared upstairs. That night, I found him sitting on his bed, staring at nothing. "You sure you're okay?" I asked gently. He looked at me then, really looked at me, and I saw something in his eyes that terrified me. The look of a son who knows his father's world is about to end. "Dad, we need to talk," he said quietly. "But not here. Not tonight." I told myself it was school stress. I told myself boys Jake's age go through phases. But when he finally looked at me that night before bed, I knew I was lying to myself. Sunday morning came gray and cold, November settling over our neighborhood like a heavy blanket. I suggested a walk to Jake over breakfast, just the two of us, father and son, like when he was small and had problems too big for his child-sized vocabulary. Linda barely looked up from her phone when we left, murmuring something about grocery shopping later. We walked 3 blocks in silence, past houses where other families lived their Sunday routines. Fathers washing cars, mothers hanging laundry, children riding bikes in driveways. Normal families, intact families. Families where sons didn't carry secrets that made them avoid their mother's eyes. Jake stopped at Riverside Park, near the old swing set where I'd pushed him as a toddler. The irony wasn't lost on me, returning to a place of innocence to have innocence destroyed. "Dad, I need to tell you something," he said, his voice cracking like it used to when he was 13. "Something about Mom. The ground beneath me felt unstable." "What about her?" I asked. Jake stared at the empty swings, chains creaking in the wind. Friday afternoon, I was supposed to meet some friends at this park for basketball. You know the courts on the east side? I nodded, though my throat was closing. I got there early and was walking toward the courts when I saw her, he continued. Mom, she was... He swallowed hard. She was with a man. Not you. My blood pressure spiked. The world narrowed to just Jake's words. What do you mean with a man? I managed to ask. They were kissing, Dad, he replied, his voice barely above a whisper. Not like a friendly hug or anything casual. I mean, really kissing? Her hands were in his hair, and he had his arms around her waist, and they were... Jake's voice broke completely. They were kissing like you and Mom used to when I was little, and you thought Sophie and I weren't watching. I fought to stay upright, to keep breathing, to remain calm for my son who was clearly drowning in guilt and confusion. Are you absolutely certain it was your mother? I asked. Dad, I hid behind a tree for 5 minutes hoping I was wrong, he answered. But it was her laugh, her hair, her coat, that burgundy one you bought her last Christmas. And when they broke apart, I saw her face completely. It was Mom. The words hit me like physical blows. What happened next? I whispered. He walked her to his car, a black SUV, pretty new, and she got in the passenger side, Jake explained. They drove away together. He finally looked at me, and I saw 20 years of respect and trust dissolving in real time. Dad, where did she tell you she was Friday afternoon? I knew the answer. Shopping with Carol, I said quietly. Jake nodded, tears starting. I called Carol yesterday, he admitted. Said I wanted to surprise Mom with flowers for her birthday next month, asked where they went shopping Friday. Carol said she hasn't seen Mom in 2 weeks. The betrayal was a physical thing, eating through my chest like acid. 23 years of marriage, and my wife was living a lie. My son had discovered it. My foundation was gone, but Jake was falling apart in front of me, so I forced myself to think strategically. Have you told anyone else? I asked. No, he replied immediately. I wanted to tell Sophie, but... He shrugged helplessly. How do you tell your sister that Mom is cheating on Dad? You don't. Not yet, I said, my voice sounding foreign to my own ears, cold and calculating. Jake, I need you to promise me something. We act completely normal at home until I figure out what to do. Can you do that? He nodded, wiping his eyes. And Jake, I added, you did the right thing telling me. I know this is killing you, but you're not responsible for your mother's choices. We practiced neutral expressions before walking home. Linda greeted us cheerfully, asking about our walk. I kissed her cheek, the same cheek another man had kissed 2 days ago, and lied smoothly about discussing Jake's upcoming exams. She smiled and returned to her coffee and her phone. Typing another message to someone I no longer had the luxury of assuming was innocent. That night, I lay beside her listening to her breathe, watching her phone light up with a late-night text she didn't hear, and I realized something that chilled me to my core. I didn't know this woman at all. 23 years, and she was a complete stranger. Monday morning, I sat across from Martin Cross in his downtown office, surrounded by filing cabinets and framed licenses that testified to his expertise in discovering people's darkest secrets. Martin was mid-50s, sharp-eyed, with the kind of weathered face that suggested he'd seen every variety of human betrayal. 23 years of marriage, he said, reviewing the notes I'd given him. Son caught her with another man. You want full surveillance? Everything, I confirmed. Photos, video, GPS tracking, financial records if possible. I need enough evidence to bury her in court. Martin quoted his fee. Substantial, but I didn't care. My savings account was about to become a weapon. How long do you want me to follow her? He asked. Until you have irrefutable proof, I answered. However long that takes. The next 2.5 weeks were psychological warfare disguised as normal marriage. I went to work, came home, asked Linda about her day. She told elaborate stories, shopping with Carol, lunch dates with former co-workers, yoga classes that ran late, errands that somehow took 4 hours. I nodded and smiled and died inside with each lie. The suffocating tension infected our entire house. Jake avoided his mother's eyes at dinner, responding to her questions with one-word answers. Sophie kept asking what was wrong with everyone. Why Jake seemed angry all the time, why the house felt weird. Linda was too absorbed in her phone to notice her son's pain or her daughter's confusion. I observed my wife with new eyes, cataloging details I'd previously ignored. How she lit up when texting, how she took calls in the garage, claiming it was about boring work stuff, how she'd started caring about her appearance again. New clothes, expensive makeup, a gym membership she'd never mentioned wanting before. She was becoming a stranger in my own house, and the cruelest part was how happy she seemed, glowing, energized, alive in ways she hadn't been with me in years. The waiting was agony, but I remained patient, playing the role of oblivious husband perfectly. When she claimed to be shopping, I wished her fun. When she said she'd be late from yoga, I told her to drive safely. When she came home with shopping bags that contained items she never wore around the house, I complimented her taste. 3 weeks after hiring Martin, he called. "I've got what you need," he said over the phone. "Can you come in today?" I left work, early, telling my assistant I had a dentist appointment. The irony wasn't lost on me. Lying to cover up the discovery of lies. Martin's office felt different this time, charged with the electricity of completion. Photographs spread across his desk like evidence at a crime scene. My wife's face smiled, back at me from a dozen different angles, but she wasn't smiling at me. "Scott Mercer," Martin said, pointing to the man beside her in every photo. 43, married sales manager at Hartwell Electronics. 3 kids, youngest is 8. Wife's name is Rebecca, stay-at-home mom. I studied Scott's face, memorizing features I might have passed on the street without a second glance. Average height, thinning hair, nothing remarkable except his ability to destroy my family. Budget motel on Elm Street, Martin continued, sliding over receipts. 3 separate occasions, November 8th, 12th, and 15th. Same days your wife claimed she was shopping or at yoga. The evidence was overwhelming. GPS data showing Linda's car at the motel during times she claimed to be elsewhere. Restaurant receipts for 2 people at romantic establishments across town. Video footage of her and Scott entering the motel room, kissing against his car, holding hands like teenagers. Martin handed me a USB drive. "Everything's on here," he explained. Photos, video, timestamps, financial records. His wife has no idea. I verified that. She stays home with their kids while he's out destroying families. I held the USB drive like a weapon, because that's exactly what it was. "One more thing," Martin added. "Your wife's been sloppy. Credit card charges at Victoria's Secret, expensive restaurants, a jewelry store. Either she thinks you're stupid or she doesn't care if you find out. The disrespect was somehow worse than the betrayal. 23 years of marriage, and she thought so little of me that she couldn't even bother to cover her tracks properly." I drove home with the evidence burning in my pocket, watching Linda cook dinner like nothing had changed. She hummed while stirring pasta sauce, checking her phone between stirs. When it buzzed with a text, she smiled that radiant smile, the one I now knew belonged to another man. "How was work, honey?" she asked, kissing my cheek with lips that had kissed Scott Mercer 3 days ago. "Fine," I replied, marveling at how easily the lie came. Same old numbers, but I was already counting different numbers. How much our house was worth, how much was in our savings, how much alimony I could avoid paying with this evidence. I looked at those photos, my wife's hand on another man's chest, her head thrown back laughing at something he said, her walking into that cheap motel like she had every right, and I felt something inside me die. Or maybe it was something being born, something cold, something patient, something that would make them both pay. Patricia Vance's law office occupied the 32nd floor of downtown's most prestigious building, all glass and chrome and the kind of intimidating luxury that announced serious money changed hands here. She was 50-something, silver-haired, with the predatory elegance of a shark in designer suits. Her success rate in contested divorces was 92%. "Mr. Brennan," she said, reviewing the evidence Martin had gathered. This is a prosecutor's dream and a cheating spouse's nightmare. With adult children, we don't have custody complications. She gets nothing. The USB drive sat between us like a loaded gun. No alimony? I asked. With evidence this clear? She'll be lucky to leave with her clothes, Patricia replied, her smile razor-sharp. We'll file for divorce citing adultery, and with your documentation, she won't have grounds to contest anything. The house, savings, retirement accounts, everything stays with you. How long? I inquired. I can have papers drafted by Thursday, she answered. Would you prefer she be served at home or at work? I thought about Linda's co-workers at the dental office, how gossip spread through small workplaces like wildfire. But that wasn't the right audience for maximum damage. At home, I decided. Thursday evening, make sure the whole family is there. Patricia nodded approvingly. Witnesses to her reaction. Smart. But I wasn't finished. My next stop required more courage than anything I'd done so far. Rebecca Mercer lived in a modest two-story house on the other side of town, the kind of neighborhood where families made decent livings but counted every dollar. Her house was smaller than mine, older, with children's bikes scattered across the front yard and a minivan in the driveway that had seen better years. I sat in my car for 10 minutes, gathering strength for what I was about to do. Rebecca Mercer had done nothing wrong except marry the wrong man. But she deserved to know the truth, and Scott deserved to have his world implode from multiple directions simultaneously. Rebecca answered the door with flour on her hands and exhaustion in her eyes, the look of a mother who'd been managing 3 children all day. She was pretty in a tired way, blonde hair pulled back, wearing jeans and an old sweater. Mrs. Mercer? My name is Thomas Brennan, I said. We need to talk about your husband. Her face went through a dozen expressions: confusion, fear, recognition of disaster approaching. Is Scott hurt? She asked worriedly. Not physically, I replied. May I come in? She led me to a living room that spoke of careful budgeting and children's priorities: worn furniture, toys in corners, family photos covering every surface. 3 beautiful kids smiled from those frames, unaware their father was about to destroy everything. I placed the investigation report on her coffee table between us. Mrs. Mercer, your husband is having an affair with my wife, I said quietly. I have proof. She stared at the manila folder like it might explode. That's impossible, she protested. Scott works long hours, but he's not. He wouldn't. I opened the folder, revealing the photographs. Rebecca's hands flew to her mouth as she saw her husband kissing another woman, entering hotel rooms, holding Linda's hand across restaurant tables. How long? She whispered. At least 2 months, probably longer, I answered honestly. I'm sorry. She broke down then, shoulders shaking as she cried for the life she thought she had. I sat quietly, offering tissues, recognizing my own grief reflected in a stranger's living room. My kids, she sobbed. How do I tell my kids their father is a liar? The same way my son told me, I replied gently. With courage you didn't know you had. I left her with copies of everything, knowing she'd file for divorce within days. Scott's life was about to explode from multiple directions, and he'd never see it coming. Thursday evening arrived with surgical precision. I'd orchestrated everything perfectly. Dinner at 6, everyone home, the table set like any normal family meal. Linda cooked her famous chicken parmesan, humming while she worked, completely oblivious to the storm approaching. Sophie talked about college applications. Jake managed to participate without looking at his mother. Linda shared gossip from the dental office, animated and cheerful, her phone buzzing with texts that made her smile. The doorbell rang at 7:15. I'll get it, Linda said cheerfully, probably expecting a package or neighbor. She opened the door to find a serious-looking man with a clipboard and manila envelope. Linda Brennan? He asked formally. Yes, she replied confused. You've been served. I watched from the dining room as confusion clouded her face. She signed for the envelope mechanically, probably thinking it was some bureaucratic nonsense. But when she opened it and read petition for divorce, Her face went white. She stumbled back into the dining room, papers trembling in her hands. "Thomas, what is this?" she demanded. "Some kind of joke?" I reached into my jacket and pulled out a second manila envelope, the investigation report. I placed it on the table and scattered the photographs like playing cards. Linda saw herself kissing Scott Mercer and collapsed into her chair. "Explain those," I said quietly. She tried. Oh, how she tried. Tears, denials, claims that the photos were doctored, that I'd hired actors, that this was all some elaborate misunderstanding. "This isn't real," she protested desperately. "Thomas, you know me." Sophie screamed about betrayal. "How could you do this to us?" she cried. Jake told her to shut up and get out. "You're disgusting," he said coldly. Linda begged them to understand, to forgive, to give her another chance. "Please," she pleaded. "It didn't mean anything." "I love this family." "1 hour," I announced calmly. "Pack what you can carry and leave," she begged. She cried. She promised it meant nothing, that she loved me, that we could fix this. I watched her break apart on our living room floor and felt absolutely nothing, because she was right about one thing. We could never go back. I'd make sure of that. 1 month later, the legal machinery was grinding both marriages to dust with ruthless efficiency. Patricia Vance was proving worth every dollar. Linda's lawyer had advised immediate settlement after reviewing the evidence. I kept everything: house, savings, retirement accounts, even the car Linda had driven to her motel meetings. Rebecca Mercer was taking Scott to the cleaners with similar brutality. Full custody of their 3 children, alimony, child support that would cripple him financially for the next decade. Scott's reputation had crumbled at work. Word spread quickly in their office. The sales manager caught cheating, destroying 2 families, lying to everyone. His boss demoted him to avoid the scandal. Colleagues gossiped. His commission-based income plummeted as clients requested different representatives. His own children refused to see him after Rebecca explained why Daddy wouldn't be living with them anymore. Linda tried reaching out to Jake and Sophie repeatedly, calls, texts, emails, showing up at Sophie's school. Both kids blocked her everywhere. Sophie's words were particularly harsh when she called one evening. "She chose him over us," my daughter said bitterly. "Why should we forgive her?" I didn't argue. Jake and I had developed a routine of evening walks, something born from that first terrible conversation at the park. It became our time to talk, to process, to rebuild our relationship on the foundation of shared truth rather than comfortable lies. 2 months after the revelation, we were walking through downtown when Jake suddenly stopped, his hand gripping my arm. "Dad," he whispered urgently, "across the street." I followed his gaze and saw a man climbing out of a beat-up Honda Civic, not the black SUV from the investigation photos. The man was thinner than in the pictures, wearing clothes that had seen better days, moving with the defeated posture of someone whose world had collapsed. "That's him," Jake confirmed quietly. "That's Scott Mercer." I studied the man who had helped destroy my family. 43 years old, looking 50, hair thinner than in the photos, face gaunt with stress. He locked his pathetic car and headed toward an alley shortcut between buildings, a narrow passage with no cameras, no witnesses, just shadows and the smell of garbage. Jake and I exchanged a look. No words needed. We crossed the street pulling our hoods up, hands shoved deep in jacket pockets. "Scott Mercer!" I called out. He turned at the sound of his name, recognition dawning slowly as he saw my face. His skin went pale. "You're Linda's husband," he said nervously. "And you're the man who destroyed my family," I replied coldly. Before Scott could respond, Jake threw the first punch, a right hook that snapped his head sideways and sent him stumbling into the brick wall. I drove my knee into his stomach with all 23 years of rage behind it. Scott doubled over, gasping. We didn't stop. Jake channeled months of watching his mother lie, of seeing his father's pain, of having his family ripped apart by this stranger's selfishness. His fists found Scott's ribs, his face, anywhere that would cause maximum damage. I thought about Linda's laughter in those photos, her radiant smile directed at this pathetic excuse for a man. The motel room where they'd played house while I paid bills and raised children and believed in marriage. Scott tried to fight back initially, throwing weak punches that barely connected. "Stop!" he pleaded desperately. "Please, I'm sorry." But he was soft, weak, the kind of man who snuck around motel rooms instead of facing his problems directly. We were harder, father and son united by betrayal, strengthened by truth, armed with righteous fury. "You should have thought about that before," Jake growled, landing another blow to his ribs. When Scott collapsed to the alley floor, whimpering and bleeding, we weren't finished. Kicks to his ribs, his back, his legs. Methodical, clinical. Each impact was a memory erased. Every family dinner Linda had lied through. Every night she'd come home late with excuses. Every day I'd trusted her while she planned her next meeting with him. Finally, when Scott was a broken, groaning heap, I crouched beside him and whispered close to his swollen ear, "You destroyed my family," I hissed. "You turned my wife into a liar and my children into victims. Every time you look in the mirror, every time you try to explain to your kids why Daddy doesn't live with them anymore, remember this moment. Remember what it cost to cross the wrong family." We walked away, pulling our hoods tighter, disappearing into the night like ghosts, seeking justice in a world that rarely provides it. Behind us, Scott Mercer lay broken in the dark, too terrified to scream, too ashamed to call for help, learning the difference between consequences and punishment. We didn't speak on the walk home. Didn't need to. My knuckles were split and bleeding. Jake's jaw was clenched so tight I heard his teeth grinding. And somewhere behind us, in that dark alley, Scott Mercer was learning what it costs to cross the wrong family. 2 weeks later, Scott was released from the hospital after 14 days. Broken ribs, fractured jaw, concussion, severe bruising that painted his body in shades of purple and yellow. The police investigated but found nothing. No witnesses, no cameras, no leads. The case went cold within a month. Linda made one final attempt to reconcile, sending an email that Sophie read aloud at dinner with dripping contempt. "I made a mistake. I'm sorry. Can we please talk? I love you all so much." Jake deleted it without hesitation. "No," he said firmly. That evening I sat on the back porch with a beer, staring at stars that seemed brighter now, clearer somehow. Jake joined me, settling into the chair beside mine, the chair that used to be Linda's. "Dad, do you think Scott knows it was us?" he asked quietly. "He knows," I replied confidently. "But he'll never say anything. How can you be sure?" Jake pressed. I sipped my beer, considering. "Because men like Scott are cowards," I explained. "That's why they destroy families instead of building them. He's too afraid of what admitting the truth might cost him." "Are you okay?" he asked. "With everything that happened?" I thought about the question genuinely. I'd lost my wife, but I hadn't lost my children. I'd lost my marriage, but I'd gained something harder, the knowledge that some families survive by becoming unbreakable. Inside, Sophie was on the phone with a college advisor, planning her future with the confidence of someone who knew her father would support her dreams. The house was smaller now, quieter, but it was ours. No cheating wife, no home-wrecking coward, no lying manipulator could take that away. The truth is simple. Some betrayals can't be forgiven. Some wounds can't be healed. But some families, the ones that matter, survive by becoming something harder, something unbreakable. And that's exactly what we became. And so, we've reached the end of today's story. Was it what you expected, or did it take a twist you didn't see coming? I'm curious to hear your thoughts. Share them in the comments below, and let's get a conversation going. If this story kept you hooked, make sure to hit that like button. And if you're new here or just haven't subscribed yet, now's the perfect time to join our community. I bring you fresh, captivating stories every day, so click that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss out. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.